I've done past episodes on the dangers of fish oil. Oh, I get hate mail. Okay, I brought Brian Peskin out of MIT back. I brought Andrea from Andrea's Seed Oils on. We are going to have a roundtable discussion. Ashley has brought on many of your questions that we've gotten by doing shows on the dangers of fish oil. Man, we're going to tear this topic apart. We're going to get to the science. Oh, some new science. Wait till you hear on why fish oil, oh yeah, cancer causer. Okay, you got to hear the show, and you better share it because people are buying in to this bad information on fish oil. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cellular Healing TV. I'm Ashley Smith, and today we are changing the format a bit and bringing you a roundtable dedicated to the concept of oils. From fish to plant-based, this group of experts will sort the facts from the fiction. We will even hear some questions answered from the audience live. I cannot wait to hear this conversation. So I'd love to welcome our panel, research scientist, Professor Brian Peskin, Andreas Wecker from Andreas Seed Oils, and of course, Dr. Pompa. Welcome all of you.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can't wait for this conversation. You know, where this show actually came from was, you know, Brian, we've done shows, The Dangers of Fish Oil, and you know, I get some hate mail around the shows as well. And I think I've even done some Facebook Lives. And, you know, you found me years ago because, you know, I was a guy talking about the problems with fish oil and why I don't take it. And so, you know, your research for the last how many years has been around this topic. So immediately you contacted me. You've spoken at my seminars. Yes. And I've done a fantastic job on even educating my doctor. So I do appreciate that. And Andrea, you know, you actually, you have an amazing patented process about pressing oil because you too have your story. And I'll let you tell a little bit about your story briefly of how you got so into this topic. And, you know, we all have in common that we see and understand the dangers of fish oil. So, you know, with that, I want to have this conversation. I really felt like it deserved more of a conversation than, you know, Brian or me or, you know, even Andrea just speaking and telling people why fish oil is bad. I feel like it has to be a conversation because this topic is so huge. It's affected all of our lives. My audience knows Brian a little bit, but Andrea, let me just give you a minute just to tell your story. You're an ex-Olympic athlete with your own story, which led you to all of this. So tell a little bit about that, and then we'll break right into the conversation.
Yeah, so I was, like you said, I was in 4 Olympics as a gymnast, 1 gold in Atlanta, 96 on high bar. I have 5 medals. So, and then I stepped away from gymnastics after 28 years. In 2004, and I got sick in 2006 on Crohn's disease. So I was in the hospital. I lost 45 pounds and almost 80% of my blood. Yeah, so it was kind of very, very. I was literally dying. Yeah, so I had 8 blood transfusion, and I figured out after 7 weeks, after they tested all kinds of tests with me. And I said, I cannot do this anymore. You cannot help me. Obviously, you cannot help me. So I released myself after 7 weeks. They give me I had to take 2 or 3 bags of medication I took with me home. I had to take 33 pills every single day. And the strongest was, of course, the prednisone, right? So, and then I started to think. So I had a friend, he had a small oil press. He is also an engineer, and so he said, "We get you off the mats. I have the solution." So he brought me, and that's now the question I actually will be stepping in. Fish oil is actually people looking for the omega-3. So, but he brought me the flaxseed, which is also high in omega-3. It's a ratio from 4 to 1, omega-3 to 6, and it had helped me to get rid of my medication in 3 months completely. I stepped a little bit faster out with the prednisone. So I had like a half a year in pain in my body because the body was not able to adjust. But at the end, I found my way because I got all the side effects. So medication was for me, and when you go into the mythology a little bit, what pharmacy means, the word pharmacy comes from the Greek word pharmakeos, which means witchcraft. So I'm thinking always in pictures, see those witches, stirring the soup a little bit here, a little bit there, right? And then selling it to us. So, and this is what I was stepping out. So I started pressing actually for myself. So it was in 2006, 2007, and then we moved here to United States. And then I started in 2008 actually business with it because people was asking, can you make me also a bottle? So it was actually planned only for me. Yeah. So
the fats, the surprising fat, not fish oil is what was part of your answer in getting your life back. And you've since dedicated your whole career around this topic. And Brian, likewise with you. I mean, how did you get into this? I mean, obviously you were with MIT researching obviously different topics, but how did you land on this?
Yeah, I'm an engineer by training from MIT. And what got me into the medical field was my wife became diabetic, type 1, in her 30s, doing, quote, everything she was told to do. And the physician's recommendations made her worse. So it started me on a path to that. And somehow I started looking at cell membranes and was very impressed with that. And then I read Otto Warburg's work, who was...
And by the way, that's where you and I had a lot in common, because so much of my teaching is the cell membrane.
I know.
Yeah, and I think that is how you actually found me.
That is exactly how I found you. I was shocked you knew so much because very, very few physicians do, and healthcare professionals. They don't learn this in medical school. And I looked at Dr. Warburg's work, MD, PhD, Nobel Prize winner, the best physiologist, top biochemist of the 20th century. And it was, my goodness, these are tied to cancer too. And it was lack of cellular oxygenation, not in the bloodstream, because virtually everybody has good oxygen in the bloodstream. That's the pulse oximeter that they have in the hospital. You can buy those machines. You're over 92, 94, you're fine. And it was, why the heck would you get low cellular oxygenation? And then I started researching the oils and what the composition of the cell membrane was.
Yeah. And
25 to 33% of every one of your 100 trillion cells in your body is parent omega-6 and omega-3. A quarter to a third are the brick and mortar of every cell, every tissue, every organ in your body. And that is actually the intelligence of the cell. It's not the nucleus.
Right.
You can rip out a nucleus and it lasts for months. You rip out the cell membrane, it's dead pretty quick.
Yeah, Bruce Lipton pointed that out.
Yes.
Even one of the interviews I've had with him. Yeah, that it's the membrane is the intelligence. I mean, this is how your hormones work. Yeah, this is how your body turns off genes. It's all in the membrane. And I want to be clear that you talked about omega-6. Both of you did. You both talked about omega-3. But the parent essential oils, which you have a book that you wrote, the PEO Solution, parent essential oils. And that's not fish oil.
Those are derivatives. So there's parents, which are the basic structure your body can't make. There's only two, ALA and LA, parent omega-3, parent omega-6. Have to get them from food, but your body can and does make the derivatives. That's the DHA, EPA, the big fish oil.
Okay.
But they're made in minute quantities, and we'll talk a lot about
that. Well, we'll talk about that because which brings us to the subject here, fish oil. Okay, first of all, what's the problem with fish oil? And you can both both of you chime in a little bit. What's the problem with fish oil? And Brian, you just pointed out that obviously we're told that we need all this fish oil, but we'll handle that in a minute. But what's the basic problem? Let's start right there. Because all three of us feel fish oils are dangerous. What is the problem?
Yeah, we're not a fish living in frigid water, number one. So what is fish oil? It's essentially antifreeze for a fish, because if I throw you in 30-degree water, you're going to freeze. So nature has two alternatives, either alcohol in the bloodstream or long-chain fatty acids, which DHA, EPA. Now, what's very interesting is the warmer the water, the less DHA, EPA is in the fish. Dr. Rowan showed me the literature on this, and I was shocked. And it's actually 14 times less from the cold water fish to the warm water fish. We're at 98.6. So we're taking so much, it becomes rancid at room temperature. Okay. No one knows this. I don't care what kind of antioxidants you put in. And the age spots on everybody is called lipofuscin. That was given to monkeys taking fish oil. Infinite antioxidants, it wouldn't stop it. So if you have any age spots in your skin, those aging is in every organ of your body, including the arteries. And fish oil, the brain has 14%, but it also has 10% arachidonic acid, and it has omega-6 and omega-3. So those, to an engineer like me, same order of magnitude. It's not 100 times more. It's basically the same. Your eye also has it, but what's very interesting is in the studies where you give kids, infants, adults, seniors, more DHA, does absolutely nothing to improve or reverse Alzheimer's, dementia, macular degeneration, anything. And the Cochrane Institute is the best researcher of analyzing studies in the world. And Ashley has the paper, which she said she'd put up later for people to look at. They said it is worthless in stroke, and it is worthless in preventing any disease. They looked at.
And by the way, we're going to provide the studies that you reference. We'll provide the studies because I want people to be able to understand that the Cochrane collaboration, they looked at all of these studies, and they literally said, okay, not only, do these things not work, but they're, in fact, oxidative. So that's the problem. Is
they don't work.
Right.
And most studies, one other thing, very importantly, aren't worth the paper they're printed on. They could only take out of the hundreds of studies, if not 1,000 they looked at, about 20 met their criteria of being a good study. So what people need to know is most of these fish oil quote studies are garbage. They're associated.
So hold on to that because I'm going to ask that question. But okay, so these things you had said that they literally start to oxidize at room temperature. Oh, yeah. But I think that one of the things that what people would say, however, is that, well, our process, with handling the fish oils is very protected, and that would be part of the problem, but you'll say that, hey, even in your body, these things are so fragile, they go rancid. Andrea, what's your take on that? What is your problem with fish oil?
First, it's funny. I don't eat fish, so I don't have this problem. I don't take it anyway. So, but
I want to be clear. I'm okay with fish oil and fish. Okay,
fish is fine. I know. Fish is fine when you get it straight. But I figured also out, for example, just let you know, I did the test many times just to show and prove for people. So, for example, if you take, why is the fish stinking, right? It's a kind of fishy thing, right? So it's the fat what is oxidized. So, for example, when you take my flaxseed oil and put it in a pan and heat it up, it stinks like you have a fish in there. It's not the fish what is stinking, it's the oil outside. That's what he said too. It's the colder, you're more glitchy. I call it glitchy. They are. You cannot grab them because they protect themselves against the cold. And the warmer they get, the easier you can grab them, because that's a natural thing. But it's outside. It doesn't have any. It never made sense for me to eat something what stinks, what it's like. And you can smell it's off, something is off, and that's what I mean. Like I said, if you cook or you heat it up, flaxseed oil, you have instantly the smell of a fish. So it's not up to the fish who's stinking, it's the oil what's stinking.
Yeah, so meaning that it's rancid. There's a rancicity already outside the fish oil. So, I mean, Brian, is it possible? I just want to handle it right now. Is it possible to make fish oil safe?
No, there's a secondary aldehyde you can look at. It's called p-inicinin. And most people just look at a PV value, which is peroxide value. That is a worthless measure. That is a mere potential. It's like if I have a 1,000,000-volt power line, you can touch one end of it. You can touch both sides of it with two hands. That's why a squirrel or a bird never dies on a power line. So it's only the potential to have a problem. If you short yourself out and ground it, you're dead. Same thing with fish oil. Fish oil has a p-inicinin level, the best in the world, of 19. 20 is considered toxic. If you look at an omega-6 oil, it's around 4. So the toxicity in the aldehydes, which aldehydes are horrible, they're non-polar, and they go long lengths in the body to destroy everything. Your DNA, they are a poison in the body. The best fish oil is right on the verge of toxic. So I don't care what it is. And also in the body, you cannot use enough antioxidants to stop the problem. Now you go, wait a minute, you just said 14% DHA in the brain, right? The body does have antioxidants, and that's where they're needed. Now, if you take all this fish oil, you're going, I need to take the antioxidants anywhere I get them. They come out of your brain, go into the oil in the bloodstream, trying to protect it. Now your brain has no protection. The other organs have no protection. So it's horrible. And the dosages, like Andreas just said, he's not eating any fish. He's just getting the parent omega-3 from the oils, mainly flax, because it's a big source of omega-3. And the conversion to the DHA EPA is just fine. It's only 0.4 milligrams to 7.2 milligrams a day. And that is used in the brain for a big brain person. So double it. Say 14, 15 milligrams a day. The average oil capsule is about 600 milligrams of active DHA.
So pharmacological overdoses is basically what we're recommending to people, which, to your point, is in fact dangerous.
Incredibly dangerous. Now, these studies weren't done by me. They were done by NIH and the USDA, and superbly done. I had to read them 3 times. Brilliant, brilliant work with radioisotope testing. They can tell what goes into the brain and what goes into the eye, and we are massively overdosing. And what happens, the main problem is with this overdose, where do you think it goes? It displaces the parent omega-6, especially in the mitochondria. And there's a superb article on that about DHA ruins mitochondria in every organ, but especially the heart and the liver. It cuts down the heart mitochondrial enzyme activity by up to half. That's called congestive heart failure. So all these poor elderly people are taking this stuff because their kids say it's good for them. They're killing them. This is published, but I never see it referenced. And
you sent me an article today. I just did a Facebook Live this morning. It was a November 7th, 2019 study. And basically showing that fish oil was worthless for cardiovascular disease and cancer. And they did the study in old people, and it was a 5-year, at least a year they were on these things, even up to 5 years.
Yes.
And it was completely useless. But okay, so you know what, Andrea, the question, I'll start with you on this. Why do you think people in general, doctors, as well, believe that fish oil is healthy? I mean, come on, because people are thinking, wait a minute, my doctor who I love and trust told me to take fish oil. My chiropractor told me to take fish oil. My neighbor, takes fish oil and believes in it. Andrea, starting with you, how is everyone wrong, I guess is the question.
I call it probably Hegelian principles, right? To create to get rid of many people, to create a lot of structure. So you have to organize. So the thing is, I don't want to put anybody in trouble here, but the thing for me is, like, the bigger the lie, the more people believe in it. Okay.
You know what? No, that's so true. It's true. People just then accept it all the way down through history.
So, and when you look at the studies, so-called studies, that comes from a pharmacy or from fish, from the companies, but there's nothing where it's like showing a third laboratory, third-party laboratory was testing this, so and so. It's just claims over years, so it's like a stereotype.
Claims.
It's like a stereotype. When you have this, then you have this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the main problem. And like I said, I'm talking people not into fish oil, so I'm talking them out. I said, be careful with this. So and then they're asking, of course, so what else I can take, right? So, and then I give them offers or let them to the website and put them into, because I believe what God gave us as plants, as seeds, there's the information for our body to repair, to keep it healthy, to keep it also safe for the, what's it called, DNA protection. I mean, DNA, it's information. So everything what we put in, what has the wrong information, is automatically the body is turning it into a disease. So I don't believe honestly in diseases. I believe in symptoms. Yeah? And I think that's the main. Also, I don't believe in cancer. I'm sorry.
It's a process all the way back to Otto Warburg. But so we'll talk about seed oils because they can be screwed up too, right? So we'll talk about that. Even though the subject here is in fact fish oils. Brian, what's your take on?
For people to want fish oil. I was around at conferences, nutritional conferences back in the 90s. They couldn't give it away.
Yeah.
I would ask the distributors, how's it going? It's not. So with infinite time, infinite money, you can have people believing anything. So they took 20 years to get any kind of momentum. Can't be discounted. It wasn't overnight. It was pound them, do tons of studies, and with a 95% confidence interval, that means 5% of their studies that appear like it works fail. So if you do 15,000 studies, and supposedly fish oil has that many, which is insane, 5% of 15,000 is 750. That means 750 studies that actually failed appear to be true, and that's how they get them.
And Brian, you've looked. I always say that you've actually, you said, I think I've read all of those studies. By the way, I mean,
too many.
That's too many. But so that's the point, right? Is that people just, their opinion studies, most of them, that people, I mean, who's looking at methodologies, right? I mean, you sent me that one this morning. I actually looked at the methodology. I looked at actually what they did. It was a good study, but rarely ever is it a good study. But why, Brian? I mean, why is
they don't want them for fish oil because they fail. It fails everywhere. A big one, 2019, just came out with vitamin D and marine omega-3.
That's the one. No, that's the one I spoke about this morning.
Right. Yeah. Systemic inflammation, it did nothing. And if it can't decrease inflammation, you're not going to decrease any disease. One big thing, like Andres with Crohn's disease, would be the lining of the gut is all parent omega-6.
Yeah.
Your skin is all parent omega-6. There's no fish oil. So when I see somebody going, oh, the fish oil made my skin smoother, how? It's not in there. You don't get to say that. That's ridiculous. My first thing is, if it were true, could it be true? And then give me the metabolic pathway. And people usually just look at me and their eyes glaze over. I said, give me the specific pathway that this does. For example, in the mitochondria, cardiolipin, which is in the inner membrane, is all parent omega-6, period. And if you take fish oil, it displaces it. Right. That's the insidious problem. The parent omega-6 and parent omega-3 are critical. Remember, 25 to 33%. The DHA EPA is not in there, except in the brain and the eye, and that's about it. But it will not do anything to increase cellular oxygen.
But to your point, okay, the brain and the eye need more of the derivatives of these parents, but you can make them from
as needed.
The parent fats, which you don't need fish to get. And to your point, your body converts so little because
Normally.
it needs so little. Okay,
Correct.
now some people would say to that, and either of you could respond though, that, okay, because it converts so little because people have trouble with the conversion because it's broken. Is there truth to that?
There is a little. It's called the delta-6 desaturase. So a diabetic, an alcoholic, somebody undergoing chemo, drugs, they all do impair that to a certain amount, but the average person has no impairment. And like Andrea said, his DHA EPA levels are just fine. There's actually been studies done. They did a fireman study that were all non-fish eaters, and they had 80% of the highest levels DHA EPA in the bloodstream, which means you don't need it at all. And Dr. Rowan, who's a raw foods vegan, actually sent me 5 countries. They have no fish. They're landlocked.
Yeah,
like in the Himalayas. And the first question would be, do they have brain problems? Do they have visual acuity problems? And how come people in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s in America, where there was no fish oil push whatsoever, no problem? So that's where I always look. What the heck changed here? Did people in the past have this problem? And if the answer is no, we're doing it. And then I try and figure out why.
Yeah. Andrea, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, I see this. I see the same way in the past when we're going into, for example, you said Himalaya, the Hunsas, for example, they get very old. They get very old. They're not sick at all. They don't have anything. The good thing is what they take a very good water. They have up there in 5,000 meters, and they eat just healthy food. So you see a lot of those. I know this since 20 years. All about because I was like looking into water, liquids in general, in information, frequency, etc. So I'm not coming from I'm not having a doctor title, but I'm 17 years in pressing oils and seeing finally. So I set up a complete new press, which is when you set the 20 or the 19 and the 20. So there's this MEG per kilogram also, peroxide numbers, to prove where the oxidation stand is already. So most of the oils on the market, they coming out of the press already rancid. They are not, they are grinding. So I call them grinders. So what I'm doing, I just fill up the front. I'm going to the front and squeeze them out. So they go, this oil is getting released in a fraction of a second. So it doesn't harm anybody. There's no wrong information. Everything goes in. And I have a couple laboratory tests. They show I have 0 oxidation in there. So they couldn't, there was like the flaxseed had, I think I get it now to 0, but I had it at 0.02. So all the oils, if you take Jared's, what's the other one? Udo's, etc., they're all about 2.5. So at 10 in a peroxide number, is at the 10 is the poison stuff. You kill yourself. You can kill yourself with oils.
Well, so I mean, look,
my goal was first, I want to heal myself and then help others. So, and educate. So I think that the main thing, and that's what we're talking about, is education. So the missing education in the whole system. So there's a lot of things right now I'm dealing. I get a new facility. I got ODA kitchen. I will get very soon USDA approved, all the stuff. But they want to know what I'm doing because nobody's doing it like I do. So
well, look, when both of these guys, by the way, because people I know right now are going, okay, what products do I take? And we're going to get into that, but we're going to put links for both products that these guys both believe in, obviously, because you want to know what to take. Hey, Brian, when we're looking at this topic, right, you and I just are fascinated, love, and I believe the key to getting people well today is fixing the cell membranes. But again,
it's because of processing in the food, just like Andrea said.
Yeah, no, right. But we understand though that the key to fixing the membrane is the omega-6. It's the king of the membrane. But yet, when we talk about omega-6, it's mostly bad. So I think some of the confusion, Brian, is people even in studies they're not differentiating between rancid omega-6 that's just found in vegetable oils, canola oils, and all these other bad oils, versus the key to fixing people in the membranes is the good omega-6. So just talk a little bit about the omega-6 and why it's so vital in the membrane as opposed to omega-3.
Sure.
And by the way, I'm not against omega-3, the parent oil, but the omega-6 is the tipping point.
Well, most organs, for example, body fat is 22-1 parent omega-6 to parent omega-3 in the store. So your body wants a huge store of parent omega-6. Most organs, like the heart, the liver, 4-1. Your muscles, which is 50% of your body weight, is 6.5-1 in favor of parent omega-6. The whole problem is the processing. So if you go into your supermarket, you are going to get the adulterated omega-6. I don't care where it is. If you go in any fast food restaurant, even a high caliber fine dining restaurant, they're using canola oil, soybean oil, all this is highly processed. And just like Andrea said, it's so they don't go bad. If you walk by the fish market and the supermarket, right, that smell is the oil going bad. So I understand why they have to stop that, but nobody told anybody if you don't get the right stuff, you're going to die. And Dr. Lanz conclusively showed 1990, the composition of the cell membrane varies in proportion to what you eat, which means if I eat 80% adulterated oils, I will have a membrane in every one of my 100 trillion cells that's 80% impaired. So the key is to have more of the unprocessed than the processed. But that is the whole problem. People are missing one little adjective, adulterated. And even in the animal chow, rat chow and mouse chow, because I've done studies with this, the peroxide level is 60. Like Andrea said, if it's over 10, you have a problem. So they are giving the mice a cancer-causing, a heart disease-causing food, and then going, oh, the omega-6 is bad. And Barry Sears was the worst one to go, arachidonic acid will kill you. The free arachidonic acid doesn't, but this one guy is pretty responsible for ruining everybody in America for thinking arachidonic acid is bad, and it's not.
Oh, no way. It's actually amazing.
It's critical. So we're misled, and the doctors all along with it, because people believe what they're told repeatedly. And the arachidonic acid is critical. Prostacyclin stops the platelets from sticking to the artery, from sticking together. It is critically important.
So no one's talking about the omega-6.
By the way,
so it
stops that process. It makes the platelets stick together.
Absolutely.
Nobody's telling anybody that either. That was in either New England Journal of Medicine, which is America's #1 publication, but that's a horrible effect.
So what we have to do is we have to get rid of the bad omega-6. And Andre, I'll let you talk about where we're getting so much bad omega-6. We mentioned a few of them. And then we have to really, if we're going to impact people's health, we have to replace it with good quality omega-6. Raw nuts and seeds are part of it, but can we get better oils in the omega-6? Go ahead, Andre, you can speak to that.
Yeah, so if I eat nuts and seeds, I get only partially, because the teeth and the whole body cannot break it down this much. So sometimes, for example, if you eat flaxseed, for example, they come out the same way, like you put them in.
Yeah, you see it in your poop the next day.
Exactly. But when we're talking about ratios, I have one which is very good for this, and is pretty powerful. It's the hemp. The normal hemp seed oil is one of them, which has the best.
It's a 4 to 1 ratio.
4 to 1. No, it's 1 to 4. So 3 and 6, 1 to 4. So I'm talking always like 3, 6, 9. So 1 part omega-3, 4 parts omega-6, and that's what we're looking for. Sunflower, very good. Black sesame. So we have a lot actually.
Yeah, but Andre, I have to say though, when you go into Whole Foods, I'm always warning people, don't just ingest the regular safflower, sunflower, because they start, okay, Pompa said to get omega-6, and then every product has these seed oils in them, but they're rancid seed oils. So that's a problem. You can't just take those oils.
But this is on us to educate the people in the right way. And that's what I'm trying right now on my website too. To get them to the point where they, the thing is, it's easy to go to a doctor and say, just give me a pill, right? It will go. So I give my responsibility for my body, I give to somebody else. And I think that's the main problem in this time today, that we don't. So when I decided to get out of the hospital, to release myself, was because I took the responsibility for my body back to myself. So and that's why you're getting, then suddenly you start to think about what I have to change in the right way to get healthy again. So it's not so many people, they say, oh, you're just old. You know what I mean? So it's typical. No, I don't think this way. You should be healthy.
No, I don't either.
You know?
Well, look, I can tell you as someone who, I'm a, practitioner who coaches doctors and people back to their health. And this topic of fixing the cell membranes and using the right oils is critical. And Andrea, you developed Andrea's seed oils, which again, we'll provide the link, with a patent process of, literally pressing these oils to where you don't make them rancid. Right. And many of them are in these proper ratios that Brian was mentioning, and pressing them to protect them so you can actually get them. And I know many of my people buy your oils. You held up a bottle. So you have a product where it's a bottle of oil. Brian, Brian, at least as a scientific advisor in a product, we'll put the link. Pure Form, my doctors all use the product, by the way, Brian. It's more of a pill version. But both of these products have these omega-6 that are not denatured, which are critical for fixing the membrane. And that's what nobody's speaking of.
Absolutely key. Yeah. And it better be organic and cold pressed, like Andreas was saying. Anything in a commercial supermarket will kill you. That's a trans fat, hydrogenated oil, interesterified. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's not organic and it's commercial,
don't touch it.
It is ruined.
Yeah.
So
margarine, nothing will touch it in the garage. Put it out in the garage for a year. No bacteria, no mold, no yeast, nothing.
Exactly.
Well, same with canola oil and vegetable oil. Go ahead, Andre. What were you going to show us?
They don't.
So I want to show you quick the new setup I just did, so that's my heart. So that's my new technology. I have 4 patents on this.
All this to press it and not damage it. To Andrea's point, it's very, very difficult to not hurt these delicate fats. Impossible with fish oil, but possible with seed oils. It just has to be done right. We all agree on that, and that's your process.
That was my concern. Or look, if you want to change something on a liquid, you have to change something on the mechanical side. So, and I learned mechanic in the past, and I learned electric. So I learned a couple things. So I just put like a puzzle together, and then I got a vision. It was in 2009 about the total new press. So I called all those so-called, because the best presses obviously came from Germany. So they have all this award-winning stuff. And then I was calling one by one. It's like 8 to 10 companies, and I talked to their engineers. And then I told them what I want to change so that this is no more grinding, right? So the principle in a normal expeller press is, the expeller is smaller. So they're filling up the room and then they start to grind. So you don't get it out by pressure like I do, but by grinding, heat, friction, you create so many things. You get, like I said, it maybe tastes in the beginning okay, but it's already rancid, right? It's already done. So that's what people don't understand. And then I figured out what the difference is between engineers and mechanics. Engineers getting money up front, but you never get the product.
Well, Brian could speak to that. He's an engineer. You got to be
well, you know what I'm talking about. So
yeah, I know.
So I found out nobody was able and nobody want. So those old presses, I call them not presses, I call them grinders, because the first of cold press expeller presses was established in 1923 by a Netherlands guy. So in all presses in the world, so-called cold pressed, are actually based on this model of this. So I was always asking myself, when I see, sometimes I talk to a couple of companies, and I said, what is the the shelf life of an expeller? Because based on this, oh, it's 3 months. I said, what are you talking about, 3 months? Yeah, then we have to change it. There's no more. I said, okay, where's all the metal going?
It's in the oil.
People today, we going in problems with metal in our body.
Well, that's the difference of grinding and pressing.
What I take a lot, right?
Yeah.
The right stuff. So it's, for me, we're getting bombarded with metals all over. So
yeah,
so there's a lot fixing, and the oils can help to get rid first of inflammation in the body. Inflammation is also causing aging, for example.
So yeah, it is. And by the way, on that topic, you know, Brian, people don't think of omega-6 as being the key for inflammation, but you both said good omega-6 is in fact the key. Everyone thinks it is the omega-3, in particular the DHA or the EPA, which you say not only is it not, it's actually those two fats, the fish oil and the EPA is inflammatory causing. But what, I mean, how does omega-6 the answer, and nobody's talking about that for inflammation?
It's unfortunate. Well, it's a direct precursor to PGE1. So it goes the omega-6, which is LA, to GLA, which, you know, hemp oil will have some in it. Evening primrose has it in it. Right. I like having the GLA just in case there's any impairment in that delta-6 to saturate.
Right. So like you said, the alcoholics, the diabetics, some of those people, you know, absolutely important.
Chemo, anybody on drugs, steroids.
So by the way, that's meaning they don't even need fish oil. They can just take GLA and they can solve that problem if they're not converting.
Bypass that whole pathway to make the PGE1 direct. PGE1 is your body's #1 anti-inflammatory, and people with COVID-19 are concerned about that, need to note that it stops the cytokine storm. That's the big thing with over-inflammation, because when you have a response, like if I cut myself, you want to be inflamed enormously. If you have no inflammation, you'll bleed to death. But that inflammation needs to subside. And with people today eating these screwed up oils, they don't get the inflammation stopping. That's an autoimmune disease. That's chronic inflammation.
Right.
And that's so easy to fix in the majority of people. But PGE1 is critical. It's also a vasodilator. It's phenomenal, and it increases blood flow. But it is the biggest anti-inflammatory your body makes. And you're right, nobody's talking about it. Right. That is the omega-6 pathway. The omega-3 pathways are incredibly weak. And basically, from everything I've read, the only reason they come up with omega-3 is any good is because they know it displaces the omega-6, which they incorrectly assume is problematic, both the parent omega-6, the LA, and the arachidonic acid, which is a derivative of the LA2. So they just look at the omega-6 side as evil, when it's the omega-3, an overdose is the problem. Now, you need parent omega-3 in the cell. Remember, it's 6.5 to 1 in the muscle, 4 to 1 in most tissues, 22 to 1 in most adipose fat in people. But it's there, so don't think you don't need any of the parent omega-3 too. You just need less of it. But the derivatives, you need none.
Yeah. So, I mean, just
the omega-3 side.
Go ahead, Andrea.
You don't need much at all. So less is more.
Yeah.
And the point, what I just before if I lose it, it's very simple. The food we eat today is dead. There's no energy. The only energy we get is from heat. So they had a study in Germany a couple of years ago, and then in a couple like assisted living. So, and every time when they made the food warm, they used the microwave.
Yeah.
So, and the people was dying like, you know, cockroaches, whatever. It was like dying nonstop. And so, and then they made a study on it, and they figured out it's the microwave, which is destroying everything. So, but what I want to say is, like, the oils, if you press it the right way, is a living food. So it has a lot of energy. And that's what people feeling when they take my oils. They feel it instantly. There's something what the body is like actually asking for so long, and then they craving for different oils. It's really fun to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, the key, and I hope you hear us saying that, those watching, is the proper unadulterated omega-6 is the key to the membrane, but it's finding it. Again, you both are, there's products you both love. Brian, you've been an advisor on for Pure Form, which is a product my doctors love, adore, so do I, take it myself. And Andrea, your oils with your pressing process, so people are going to ask, how do I get these good omega-6s? And I hope you're understanding the avoidance of fish oil. And I want to bring Ashley on in a moment and get questions, because again, we've had so many people ask questions on these past shows when we talked about the dangers of fish oil. Brian, so, we're saying, okay, fish oil is rancid. We're saying that it doesn't work. We can, put.
Let me give you one quick one in 2018, because this is the Journal of Biological Chemistry. Okay. So no clinical practicing physician would read something like this. They read JAMA, Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine.
Right. As part of the question of why doctors don't know this. Is that part of the answer?
The journals I read. It's where I live, and I read their journals too, but they don't read mine. I live in the Journal of Lipids, EFAs, essential fatty acids, prostaglandins, leukotrienes, that kind of stuff.
And by the way, in the Journal of American Medicine, Big Pharma rules, and Big Pharma now has an interest in fish oil, which is another problem.
There's 3 drugs for fish oil, absolutely. Yeah. There's 3 drugs. So what I'm always telling people is, if this stuff worked, a pharma company that has fish oil would have indications for heart disease, cancer, dermatitis, dermatological issues, macular degeneration, Alzheimer's. They have nothing. So that's the proof it doesn't work, because pharma companies have the money to do studies, and there's 3 fish oil-based drugs. But Journal of Biological Chemistry, the first thing they said, diabetics have elevated DHA in their blood, 70% higher than non-diabetics. If you take fish oil, it elevates it, and you're simulating.
So you're saying it's coming because diabetics are told to take fish oil. That's why it's elevated?
Whether they take it or not, there's an impairment, and they're having too much of it.
Okay, great. Okay, I didn't know if it was strictly from the taking it or impairment. You're saying either one.
It could be either way. And what this article said is the parent omega-6 LA actually rescues the cardiolipin induced by the DHA. So this is the extra DHA you're taking from fish oil displacing the parent omega-6 in the mitochondria.
So that's the danger, Brian, is that
that's one of them. Yes.
That's one of the dangers, right? Is it's replacing the oil that we need for functional membranes in the mitochondria, et cetera, make energy.
That's right. Number 1 problem in America. I'm exhausted all the time. You should be able to go to bed at close to midnight and be up at 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
That should be normal. And people not taking these oils go, that's impossible.
Yeah, it's one of the best things. Yeah, for brain fog, energy is getting the good omega-6.
It's the biggest deficiency in America, in the world. And nobody's looking
Nobody's talking about it. That's why we're doing this. Yeah. That's why we're doing the show. Yeah.
It's fish oil. And it doesn't matter what negative article comes out where, because I always go to Whole Foods and ask them, hey, something came out about fish oil. Have you seen any decrease in sales? And it's always no. It's like once the switch is on, it doesn't matter what comes out, because it's paper after paper after paper in high caliber.
I mean, by the way, no different than low fat, no different than caloric restriction. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these things just go and they just keep going. You can't.
It's a merry-go-round. It always comes back to the same thing. The ketogenic diet is 50 years ago. The low-fat, high-carb thing. It's a merry-go-round. It's like you can put a man on the moon. You can make a microprocessor with you can't even see, but I can't tell you what the heck to eat. Do you know what kind of an insult that is? There's biochemistry and there's physiology. I can't tell you what the hell to eat. That should insult people.
So the omega-6 is dangerous. It replaces, or the rancid omega-6 is dangerous. The rancid omega-6 is dangerous because it replaces the good omega-6, creates cellular dysfunction, which we could go on and on. The fish oil is dangerous because it really replaces the functional omega-6. And in that, it creates cell membrane dysfunction.
It
Is there one?
oxidizes 320 times faster than parent omega-6.
Right. So it's driving cellular inflammation, which drives hormone
Absolutely. Your chronic inflammation. Another major article came out. Your tissues and organs sense you have adulterated omega-6 in there, and they turn the inflammation machine on. If you're going, how the heck can they sense that? It's thermodynamic. It's the free energy with how it is, but they can sense it. And a major paper came out no more than 2 years ago. I saw nobody reference that paper, and that's chronic inflammation with the adulterated omega-6. You typically don't get adulterated omega-3 too much unless it's processed, of course, but in most foods, there's not much omega-3. There is in flax oil, but very little in anything else, or flax seeds. But the adulteration is all in the omega-6 side that we need to worry about.
Well, I mean, yeah, unless we're talking about fish oil, of course, then we're talking about adulterated,
And there's no omega-6 in there. That's DHA, EPA, which is the metabolites, the derivatives of the parent omega-3. There's no omega-6 in fish oil. There's no parent omega-3 in fish oil. It is a poison, period, in the dosages most health practitioners are recommending. It is a sin.
Let me bring Ashley on. Ashley, I want you to ask some of the questions that we get on this topic, because maybe I'm removed, right? Ashley is in the grind day in, day out, answering every question from every platform we have, Ashley. So, honestly, this subject, you could probably bring more light to it the way the public thinks than we do. So what are some of these questions that you've gathered?
Yeah, this one's huge. And I'm going to get this one after this episode as well. But people always say, but the fish oil I take is tested and it's super clean. It's high quality. I promise it's the best on the market. It's expensive, blah, blah, blah. This expert recommends it. What do we say to that person? Anyone can answer, really.
Yeah, awesome. Maybe I say something. I hear this all the time, because there's a lot of people, they asking me or asking us customer service wise, where we're staying with, what is the difference between this whole thing? So, and they come with all those arguments, testing and so on. So we just talked about it. There's no such thing. I asked them, okay, show me the proof. It's from their company or from a pharmaceutical company, it doesn't matter. So there's not a third-party study on it. You never will see this, because it proves the opposite. So I always can show them from my side our laboratory tests, and they prove that my machine is doing the right thing. And I mean, Dr. Pompa, the taste of the oils.
Oh yeah, your oils taste. You smell them. You take your lid off, Andre. You smell, the oil.
That's the new for you, the cover.
So you know what? That's it. That's Cameron's product, Cameron George, who we've had on the show several times. By the way, Andrea, with his patented process, presses the kava because there's so many fragile fats in different the kava lactones that are very fragile. So so you press that.
And we press it with a sunflower, which is mainly omega-6.
Yep. Okay, so Brian, answer the question.
To answer Ashley's question, it has nothing to do with the processing of the fish oil. It could be the best in the world. It can even have a pianisinin level of 2, which it doesn't. Yeah. It is physiologically improper for a human being, period. Yeah. It will get into the skin and displace the parent omega-6, which your whole skin is, and give you skin cancer. That is the reason skin cancer is through the roof.
And by the way, Brian, you've cited those studies that show that fish oil can cause skin cancer. You have them in your book. And heart disease, the very things they're recommended for, Brian.
Yes, it's sinful. The one I told you with the 50% cardiac enzymes and the mitochondria decrease, that's congestive heart failure. Yeah. So how the heck can it be good for the heart? Also, the inner layer of the artery, pure parent omega-6, period. There's no fish oil in there. If it gets in there, it oxidizes immediately. Again, 320 times faster oxidation than the omega-6. And 42-fold iron ascorbic catalyzed oxidation. It's unbelievable. 42 times compared with the parent omega-6. So you can look at auto-oxidation, you can look at different oxidations. It is going bad infinitely in the body, but it's physiologically wrong, period. We're not a fish.
You just said something there. You know, there's a lot of books written. Joe Mercola talks about the dangers of having elevated ferritin levels and oxidation, and you know, and is it just elevated? Is it the elevated ferritin levels, or is it some of these, you know, rancid oxidized omega-6s and fish oils?
It's all in the oxidized omega-6 and the fish oils, and it's all, and a lot of it is the processed omega-6, the adulterated you're eating. Dr. Spike.
So it's not necessarily the ferritin levels. It could be the effect of these oils, to what you just said, on the ferritin. Bingo. Exactly. You might have answered a long lost question of mine.
Number one problem.
All right, Ashley, I want you to ask more because we could just go on. But Ashley, can you believe I've been asking that question for a long time? How could it just be ferritin? How could it just mean we needed to bleed more, man? I don't buy it. I think you answered my question. Go ahead, Ashley. Another question.
All right. How did you all feel about the new trendy avocado oil that is, you know, it's everywhere these days? It's, you know, a lot of people are working with it.
It's mainly monounsaturated, which is omega-9, which your body makes on its own. It's got about under 10% parent.
But is it stable? Because I think people use it for cooking.
It's fine. Oh yeah, you can cook in it too. Make sure it's organic. Oh, it's fine to cook in, and it's fine to eat.
But you're saying not many health benefits like you'd think. Is that what I hear you saying?
No, it's not as good as you think, but it's not bad. You can
but at
go
least it takes
20,
heat,
which is fish oil, to positive 20, which is the fully functional parent omega oils. Or you can have a 0. Like
Andre, what's your take on it? The oil.
If it would be interesting for me, I would press it already. Maybe I keep it this way.
He doesn't press it. Yeah. So again, obviously it takes heat, you know, so why would you press
it? Takes heat.
Good cooking oil. It's a good cooking oil. Okay, Ash, another.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another question.
That's it. Yeah.
All right, great.
I agree with both of you.
So, you know, Andreas, you mentioned you don't eat fish, but in general, is eating fish damaging to your cells, or is it okay to eat fish?
I think fish, if it is in clean water, it would be okay. But what I saw. So, but I mean, I'm in Oregon, so we still have here in the rivers pretty clean fishes. But if you go in an industrial area like Norway, I saw just a documentary about fish and salmon and how they get feeded with antibiotics and all the stuff.
The farm fish is the worst. Yeah.
If you want, and they claim because it's Norway, it's nice and clean. No, it's not.
Yeah. So Brian, I mean, I've heard you answer the question just saying, yeah, look, a little bit of fish isn't bad, but again, people tend to even overdo it, right?
They do, but a lot of the oil comes out of it. So when you have baked fish, and a big thing for diabetics is fish. I didn't say this before. Fish raises your resting blood sugar levels. There's about 4 major studies that showed this. And the leanest fish, meaning the least oily, the opposite of what we're told, is the best for diabetics, not raising their blood sugar level. But if you eat sushi, you're not eating tons of fish.
Right.
So you do get the oil in it. But if you cook the fish, most of the oil goes away in the cooking.
Right.
So nobody's getting this pharmacologic overdose by eating the fish. But make darn sure, like Andreas said.
So by cooking it, it's much safer. Or eating sushi, it's so small, it really doesn't matter. So it's better as long as we're getting a non-toxic farm-raised fish.
Wild fish.
Wild caught. Yeah, the farm-raised is the worst.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible.
All right, Ash, another question.
Okay. How much do we have to worry about eating nuts and seeds in their whole form? Is there an amount that's too much where it starts to, you know, turn on you?
It's brain food. So we have we call it student fodder in Germany. So it's like raisins, like sweet sugar in combination with fat, and it raises for students so they can learn better. That's a very old trick in Germany. So we have this for, I don't know, since 40 years or longer. So, but in general, I like to eat, but if you put it in combination with oils and also like with on salads, or you cook with it. I mean, the Thai kitchen is I like, but you need everything like we said before. You need the right oils also for cooking for this. So
yeah, actually, I'm not sure I understood the question. Are they saying could you eat too many nuts and seeds? Is that what the question is?
Could you eat too many?
Yeah,
Start to put your ratios of the omega.
Okay. But I would argue in nature they're in better ratios. Brian, what's your take on that?
One of the best seeds is walnuts, and they always talk about Seventh-day Advents, and they go, oh, the omega-3 in it, but it's 5-to-1, parent omega-6 to parent omega-3.
Yeah, so
you can eat the nuts. Most of the other nuts don't have a lot. Peanuts are all monounsaturated, so they won't help you at all. I like taking a supplement so it's done. I mean, I'll eat cashews and almonds and different nuts, but I tell people today the bang for the buck and how inexpensive it is compared with not getting heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and all the other diseases that are becoming normal today. For $1.50 a day, you take a supplement and you're done with it. Because remember, it's a ratio, so that even lets you eat some junk. You don't have to give it a second thought so you can eat the stuff. But then you don't have to worry about, am I eating wrong ratios? Am I doing this or that? Just don't take other oils for a supplement. You can cook in them, of course. You can have olive oil. And
right. So less dangerous with the food, overdoing it, but with the oil, big problem. Avoid these rancid omega-6. Gosh darn it, avoid fish oil. All right, and one more question, Ashley.
Okay, one more. Do we have to worry at all about the way coconut oil and olive oil are pressed? Is there a rancidity involved with either of those, or are those pretty safe across the board?
Coconut oil is 93% saturated fat, so there's not really much you can do to screw that up.
Yeah.
Saturated, you can't screw up. Olive oil, very different. That's monounsaturated. Yeah, you can butcher it. Same way as the other oils.
That's what the Italians was doing a couple of years ago.
Yes.
There was a big scandal in Germany because the Germans like to buy from Italy. So they're looking on the, I noticed from my past, always looking when it came from Spain, don't touch it. If it comes from Italy, you can use it. So the Spain was transporting the olives to Italy, and it says made in Italy. So it's very, very, there was a big scandal. They mixed up, there was a chemist, he was involved also. They mixed up very, very bad rancid oil already because it's a fruit oil. So it goes, they have like normally by law it's like 48 hours time to work it out and get the oil out, right? So the problem is oxidation, centrifuge. They have hexane or alcohol extraction. So, I mean, there's sometimes you can smell, you open it up and you smell the alcohol. So if I don't touch any olive oil except I can press it actually. If I can dry, I'm still looking for a guy. It's always the seasoning. It's a seasonal thing, but I want to try this. So dried olives with the pit, because the real information is in the pit, is in the stone, is the seed, right? So I can press this. You have the best oil in the world. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, olive oil, to be clear, is more stable, but to both of their points, it could still be screwed up. So, yeah, exactly. Just to keep it simple. All right. Do we have any others, Ash?
Let me see. Are there oils women should avoid when they are pregnant, breastfeeding, or in menopause?
Well, all the rancid ones, or no matter who you are, definitely if you're pregnant.
That's the answer. Yeah, you can take it. You can take it. I mean, I have 2 kids. My second one got a lot of oil, so it's not. You just need the right ones. Yeah, it's like it's food.
Well, and obviously, I think all of us would argue that if you're pregnant, even more of a reason to get out the bad a rancid omega-6, the adulterated omega-6, and replace it with good quality omega-6, because you're making a brain, you're making a baby, you're making connective tissue. I mean, you're making cells. That's where this omega-6 is the most crucial.
They don't need the fish oil either. The hormonal influence changes.
Oh,
so there's been a lot of incorrect information on that.
Brian,
once hormone changes, so the nature takes care of it. Get the parents. The derivatives, the DHA, EPA will go up by a factor of 6 on its own. Don't need to worry about it.
Yeah. So again, Brian keeps talking about the parent oil. You have your omega-6 and omega-3, your LA, ALA, that's the parents. Okay. And that can convert if your body needs the DHA. It will convert it if it needs it. So little it needs, it's very little. I'm just kind of reviewing that.
The half-life in the brain is 2.5 years, by the way. So you better have the antioxidants staying in the brain and not taken off because you're overdosing on fish oil. 2.5 year half-life.
And by the way, so people that are becoming antioxidant deficient because of rancid omega-6 and fish oil. Would you agree? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So go ahead, Ash. One more.
All right. Well, you guys kind of touched on this, but a lot of people are drawn to maybe just the krill oils and the cod liver oils and the fermented cod liver oils. What would you say about those?
Yeah, because they get a pass, right? I mean, the cod liver oil is almost spoken about differently. And also we interviewed someone recently who was like, well, positive cod liver oil for, vaginal libido or something. And then also the krill oil gets a pass. Is there truth to any of it?
Krill oil is less poisonous than fish oil because the DHA EPA is less. Any marine oil is improper for a human being. And they did one with cod liver oil in, I believe, Norway, 1997. They gave it to hundreds of women eating the cod liver oil, 3 times more carcinoma on the skin, which is horrible. 3-fold factor. This was completely hushed up. It was published in the National Institute of Cancer. And it was all pathology. It was done with a registry, meticulous study, 1997. And Norway sure as heck didn't want to have that because they're a fishing country, right? They're an island or an isthmus or whatever the heck they are.
And by the way, I just recently had a client where their hair was, thinning. And I said, well, just stopping the fish oil might do it. And sure enough, she stopped the fish oil. And it was a cod liver oil based product, and her hair stopped thinning. So
great. So you get the blood flow. It is horrible. Yeah. It's horrible. When people start looking at some of the papers I've given you, they're going to flip. They're going to fall off of their chair because they haven't been given.
And we're going to connect those papers. Ashley's going to, basically put those papers here.
Thank you.
So you don't have to take our word for it. And by the way,
pure science, there's no products in there either. So it's
these are research papers. And Brian, the list is even too many. I mean, here you just kind of, I said for you to get us a sample of it, and you did. So I appreciate that. Around the science. But look, the purpose of this wasn't to sell product, but I want to honor both of you, with the products that you both believe in, and we'll make sure we provide those links because people want to know the right products and want to know what to take. So it is part of the answer, but my goal here was to bring the science, because I cannot believe when I do these shows, the pushback that I get. Yeah. And I just wanted to have the conversation. Ashley, is there any other pressing question you feel this one has to be answered?
I think we hit it on the head. People just are going to be like, are you sure? Because mine is, I promise it's the best in the world.
Doesn't matter. Physiologically wrong. Irrelevant.
Yeah,
it's irrelevant.
Exactly.
That's good to know.
Like you're taking arsenic. You don't need arsenic. I don't care how pure it is.
Well, you can see these gentlemen are very passionate, as I am, about getting this stuff out of people's diets, convincing people that, how could so many doctors be wrong? I think we answered that. This is a product that, man, it just, caught on, and it's all anecdotal evidence oftentimes and just studies that are done for it.
So when you're desperate and searching for something, You grab at straws. I mean, it's pretty much that. Everybody is so sick today, they don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I always tell my doctors is most people are taking a probiotic, which, by the way, they've been on the same one, monoculturing. They're taking vitamin D without any balance of other fat solubles, and they're taking fish oil. It's like, so if all you did as a practitioner is take people off those three things, you change lives right there, right?
Exactly, right there. Yeah.
Yep. And then do a step better. You can take the products that we take, right? Which are linked into the show, right? It's like, what do I take? What do I do? How do I get the good fats? All right. These guys are connected to some really good products. Andrea's seed oils, there's a link. Pure Form, which Brian's been a scientific advisor on for some years. Products that my doctors use. So, well, gentlemen, we could go on, but I hope we got the point across that fish oil is in fact dangerous. The omega-6 fatty acid, done right, unadulterated, is the key to health today, is the key to the cell membrane, is the key to hormone health, is the key to brain fog. So providing that, you all have done with some of the products here. So thank you. And Ash, thanks for bringing the questions, and appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.
Thank you too. Yes, exactly.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll be back next week and every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We truly appreciate your support. You can always find us at cellularhealing.tv, and please remember to spread the love by liking, subscribing, giving an iTunes review, or sharing the show with anyone who may benefit from the information heard here. And as always, thanks for listening.